Hi, welcome back to my channel. I've been doing a lot of reviews, or no, they're never really reviews. My thought videos, the ones I do in movies. Doing a lot of them on my phone lately. It's been so hot. Even like right now as I'm recording, it's really hot in here. That's why they're usually like an hour or less. I try my best with that. I don't know how long that'll keep up because I probably sound better on an actual microphone when it's like plugged into my computer. It's always too hot in here. To be fair, I haven't really been doing a ton of these reviews anyway. I think I've recorded like 3, maybe 4 in the last few weeks, but I've probably watched like 15 movies in that amount of time. It's just I'm talking more about the ones, or trying to talk about the ones I feel like I have more of an opinion on. I mean, there's been plenty of movies I've been watching. I've been like putting them all in my letterbox and stuff. Plenty that I've really liked or whatever. But I'm trying to just go for the ones where I feel like I have enough to say that it's probably the amount for a video or whatever. I don't know if I'll or the ones I feel like not just writing a paragraph about on Letterboxd or whatever, but the ones I feel like, okay, I need a bit more on saying what I want to say. I feel like Ponyo is one of them. Like, I didn't really write any, I think I wrote like one sentence and I was taking a bunch of notes during the movie and I thought, yeah, I think I need to do this one verbally. So this is a movie that was like sort of one of my first Studio Ghibli movies I've seen. It was this one and Spirited Away. And I had the same experience with both. It was kind of funny, where it's like, because like these were movies I hadn't really like heard of when I was a kid, except through like family members or friends or something. Like I had a friend that showed me both of those movies, and we only ever got through like the first half of both Spirited Away and Ponyo, and then like years later, I think with Ponyo, it was with a former friend, and with Spirited Away, it was with, like, my older cousin. I finally got to finish both movies, where I actually got to sit and see the whole thing. So it, like, bugged me for years in between those points, where it was like, these movies were really good, and I had, like, no idea how they ended. It especially bothered me with Spirited Away, because I, like, loved it, so that was kind of weird for me. But then Ponyo, it's funny because like Spirited Away ended up as one of my favorites. I mean, actually until today it was always one of my favorites. But I also rewatched Howl's Moving Castle for like I think the second or third time, and I'm like, nope, it's this one. This one's the favorite. Sorry if my voice sounds kind of funny. It's just really hot in here, so it's kind of getting to me a bit. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna ever do a review on Spirited Away, but I just wanted to mention that anyway, that it's one of my favorites. I probably, even though I just watched it today, probably also won't talk about Howl's Moving Castle. But yeah, I just wanted to mention those in there, that they're 2 of my favorites. But yeah, Ponyo, I felt completely differently. Like, I remember it was like on Netflix at the time when I was like first watching it. It was that I was hanging out with somebody and I had to go home, and I don't think I had Netflix, so I didn't get to finish the movie. And then for my birthday I went to like a different friend's house and I watched it, and it wasn't even like a few years ago or anything. It was like I think when I was in my teens. So even back then it was like I didn't really like Ponyo as a character. I think that's the main thing, actually, because like when I was originally watching, it was just the first half. I was like kind of trying to take the movie all in, but then I clearly remember watching it for my birthday when I was like 14 or 15 or something, and I felt really disappointed. I feel like I didn't really care for it as much, and because of that, I always thought like, I don't really like that movie. But I remembered like specific scenes from it and stuff, and I couldn't think like, okay, what is the actual reason I don't like this? And I realized I actually love this movie, except for the main character, which I feel a little bad saying in that I know that a lot of people really like Ponyo as a character. I mean, I want to say like, how can you not? Because she's like this little, I'm guessing like 5 years old or whatever, like little goldfish girl. She's adorable. I feel like I should like her. I like her character designs and stuff. Where she has like three different forms, where it's like the fully human one, the goldfish one that just looks like a little baby face or whatever, and then but the middle one's always been my favorite, where she has sort of more of like a frog face kind of, but then she has these like little chicken legs. It's like an in-between form where she doesn't even really look like a fish that much, but it just looks so goofy. I kind of wish she stayed like that throughout the whole movie. So it's like, okay, if you like her design wise and everything and whatever, and she like works as a main character, what is the reason you don't like her? It's not even like a good reason, but I think I just don't really like her as like a main character. I mean, the thing is, it's the two main characters of this movie are like two 5-year-olds, and they're like realistic for children and stuff. I feel like especially Ponyo, if anything. I mean, it also like, you know, she's literally never been like human before, and she wants to see the world and stuff. So it makes sense she's even more a little bit rowdy and whatever. I don't know. I think I just find her like a little bit annoying, honestly. I feel like she comes off as like a very selfish child that just kind of does everything on instinct and just does whatever she wants. I think, and I mean, again, like a lot of kids are like that and whatever. And it's not like she's purposely trying to like do bad things or anything. She's just like a silly little kid. I think what kind of bugs me, oh yeah, I should mention, with every Studio Ghibli movie, I've always watched the dubbed versions, the English versions, which I think there might be multiple dubs. I know that at least it's that way for the Arietti one. Because I usually watch a lot of anime, you know, with subtitles, but my three exceptions are Dragon Ball, any of the Studio Ghibli movies, and surprisingly Sailor Moon, but I've never really, like, watched that much of that one. It's just because, like, for Sailor Moon, that's usually how people show it to me in English. I don't know if I'll ever, like, get back to watching it or anything. But yeah, every Studio Ghibli movie I watch in English, so if I do, like, any future reviews or whatever, I guess keep that in mind, because that has to, like, you know, like, that's the version I'm watching. Which is always crazy, because, like, there's so many, like, really well-known actors as, like, the voice actors for these characters in English. Like, I didn't even think about it until I was watching, but, like, Tina Fey is Sosuke's mom. Oh yeah, her his mom Lisa is like one of my favorite characters in this movie. That's the other thing too. Like, Ponyo is the main character, but I found myself liking like almost all of the adult side characters more. But yeah, or like I was watching Howl's Moving Castle as an example. They have like Billy Crystal in there as Calcifer, and Christian Bale as Howl, which it was really funny for me this time, listening to him as Howl, because I just watched him in the Batman movies, and I realized that sometimes, like, oh, he's using the same kind of voice. It, like, kept throwing me off a little bit. But yeah, there's, like, so many well-known actors that are, like, doing these English dubs from, like, the early 2000s or so. And I know that's a thing with, like, a lot of, like, animated movies nowadays, where it's like, oh, instead of casting, like, professional voice actors, we're gonna just cast, like, famous people or whatever. And it's kind of a mixed bag and stuff. But I do kind of always keep that in mind. So, but I just find it really interesting, specifically with, like, these English Studio Ghibli dubs where a lot of the time I don't even notice if it's like someone that I know. I just get so into watching them as the characters, and I think they all do like pretty good. So I think that's cool. Um, what was I going to say? But yeah, I think the thing that bugs me with Ponyo as a character, which I get it. She's like 5, and with the like magical nature of the movie and stuff, because this one is very it's very just kind of laid back. It almost reminds me of like The Cat Returns, which is a Ghibli movie that I actually really like. I mean, that one's kind of even more laid back because it is kind of like a fun adventure. With this one, there is stuff like, you know, the environment getting screwed over and stuff. But a lot of this is like really chill, even like the ending and everything too. But yeah, the fact that Ponyo causes like an extinction level event just to be with Sosuke, which I remembered from when I had last watched it, which was, you know, years ago, about like the oceans rising and like the town gets flooded and the power going out. Like I remembered all of that, but I'm thinking like, how did I not remember about the satellites literally falling from the sky? And the whole thing with the moon too, where the moon is like gradually getting closer and closer to falling, and you know, that's like messing up the oceans and stuff. And it's just funny to me that like Ponyo's dad is like the only one that kind of is taking all of that seriously, and that's, you know, like he wants his daughter to be happy and stuff, though he is like a bit controlling and everything. But he's the one that's like rightfully concerned of like, hey, the moon's getting closer and the satellites are falling. Shouldn't we be more worried about this? And not only is it that like none of the other characters seem to care about any of that, they kind of keep getting mad at him for trying to interfere. But that's what was funny to me, even like with watching the movie. You know, the last time I watched it, when I actually got to see the whole thing for the first time, I felt like I was kind of more on his side of things. Of, you know, if Sosuke doesn't love Ponyo by the end, not only is it that she turns to sea foam, so there's like a bit of a consequence there. But I'm pretty sure they mention like the world will actually end, you know, because the balance of nature is being thrown off. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to me this time around with like the moon falling down and everything, and how it just looms over everything. But you only see it like every once in a while when like a character brings attention to it, because like I just finished Majora's Mask like a month or two ago, so I was seeing that in the movie and I was like, oh man, not again. But yeah, the fact that Ponyo causes all of these things to happen. I mean, I'm assuming most of the characters survive, because like Sosuke's town ends up getting flooded, but then there's the part later when he's traveling with Ponyo and there's like all of those people in boats, and you get to see even later on that like Ponyo's family is like able to make all these like bubbles and stuff, you know, so the humans don't drown. But I'm gonna assume like probably not everyone got out, and plus there's, you know, the ocean's getting messed up, and there's all those people like Sosuke's dad that are out there on the boats and stuff. Like the movie does seem to be going out of its way to show like, hey, a lot of people, you know, survived and what, but I'm just thinking realistically, like probably not everyone. Ponyo probably has like some kind of kill count. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the fact that like she causes all this stuff to happen and no one really seems to like scold her for it or anything. I don't know, kind of bugged me a little. But I get that she's supposed to be like the main character, and everything does turn out like fine at the end. And to be fair, like I do like her with Sosuke too. I like that they're kind of like, Ponyo's like the main character, but it's really just about both of them. I think they have more screen time together than they do alone. I'm gonna sit down. I'm like kind of pacing around, and I think that's making it a little worse. Hold on a sec. Let me just pause. Okay, I think I'm ready now. But yeah, it's a bummer that just I don't know if it's just the whole like Ponyo doesn't face consequences, or I'll be honest, I do kind of find her voice a little bit annoying. I don't know, maybe because it's like so high pitched, or she's always like shouting and running around and whatever. I think it's just multiple things, and I don't think it's anything with like her character itself. I think it's just things like I kind of find annoying personally. I know not everyone feels that way, and I do. And I will say she's like very cute, and she's still like a fun character and stuff. I think it's just hard. I think it's hard for me too, because like a lot of the other Studio Ghibli characters. I mean, there is usually like young main characters and stuff, where a lot of them, or maybe not. I'm trying to think, are either like teenagers or young adults. I'm guessing Ponyo is like the youngest, so I think I'm used to it. Ends up being kind of a bit more mature stories maybe, but this is the one where it's like there's a 5-year-old as the main character, so it's gonna feel a little different. But yeah, it's a bummer because like I like everything else with the movie. Like both of Ponyo's characters, Ponyo's parents are really cool. I want to talk about them for a second. Like her dad is like a former human who's now a like undersea wizard or whatever that travels around on like this boat and stuff. I think he's really cool. Ponyo's mom being this like really big lady that's like the ocean goddess, but also the ocean. Honestly, it was really cool whenever she showed up. Like that was one of the things I really liked with the movie, is like the parts with her or any of the like magic stuff really does feel magical, and I feel like what helps with that is also the soundtrack. I loved the soundtrack for this movie, and that partially made me feel glad that I went to rewatch it, because I didn't really remember any specific songs. Well, I did remember there's like a song in the credits, and I always found it like a little bit annoying, to be honest. But it's a lot of like instrumentals and stuff. I think actually the opening credits has like a vocal song. That one sounded really cool, actually. I think it was like opera too, if I remember right. But just a lot of the instrumental music throughout the movie was just really pretty, and I already saved it on my Spotify. But I think it kind of gave a lot of the magical moments kind of more like aura, kind of turned them more into hype moments. If that makes sense. I wish I was using like different words for this. But yeah, any of the times when like Ponyo's mom showed up, it was cool. It was kind of funny actually, since I'm mentioning her and the soundtrack, because the Super Mario Galaxy movie is a thing that exists for some reason, and Rosalina is there, which is cool. But she doesn't really feel like, and I'm like slightly ranting here, I guess, but it relates to Ponyo, I promise. Rosalina is in the movie, but she doesn't really feel like Rosalina to me that much. Because I always felt in the games, which I'll admit I do have a lot of nostalgia for. Galaxy is one of my favorite, probably my favorite Mario game. But Rosalina, like when I was playing those games as a kid, always felt like really mysterious, kind of otherworldly, and I always thought that was cool. But she didn't feel that way in the movie, and then doesn't really have a lot of screen time. And there is like songs from Galaxy and stuff in the movie, which was also really cool, but not really that much. And it's just funny to me. This is actually like the main reason I wanted to make this video, was just to talk about this. That watching Ponyo gave me more Super Mario Galaxy vibes than the Super Mario Galaxy movie did. And that's kind of sad, honestly. Because like Ponyo's mom reminded me more of Rosalina in the games than Rosalina herself in the movie. I think it's not just like the way she kind of appears every once in a while and just feels like this, you know, she's like the ocean as a person, but also not really So this kind of mysterious vibe. I don't know who the voice actress is though. I haven't really looked up the cast, but like the way she talked also was kind of reminding me of Rosalina. That's actually kind of more of how I expected she would sound in the movie. Um, but also just the music in this too was, also reminded me of Galaxy. Just kind of like the way it sounded, but it just gave me kind of the same feeling of like flying around in the games and stuff. So I guess that gives me another reason to watch Ponyo in the future. I don't know, like if I ever do another playthrough of Galaxy. Because I was playing it, the version of it on 3D All Stars. I was doing that like on my other deleted channel, but I never finished because it kind of got too hard for me. So you'll probably hear me talk about this again if I ever get back to playing it. But yeah, that was something I was kind of realizing as I was watching it this time, so I just wanted to talk about that. But yeah, both her parents are cool. It's kind of a bummer you don't really get to see them together much. I think it's just like one or two scenes, or really just that one scene, like when you finally get to see Ponyo's mom and they get to like talk about their kids for a little bit, which I always forget about the sisters. Like they're there throughout the movie, but they don't have any lines. They all look identical. But it is cool to like help Ponyo throughout the movie of like the part when they turn into the big ocean fish that she's running around. That's one of the coolest parts of the movie. And then Sosuke's mom, Lisa, I think she's another one of my favorite characters, honestly. Just something about her. It's just funny to me that, like, there's all of these disasters happening throughout the movie and stuff, and she manages to stay, like, really calm through most of it. I like the part, I think it's, like, before Ponyo ends up, like, properly showing up as a human, where she gets mad at Sosuke's dad for not, like, keeping his promise to come back or something, and they're communicating, in Morse code through the lights, and she's kind of just being a bit pouty about it or whatever. That was funny to me. It's like moments like that that just make her feel, I don't know, like a real person. What is kind of funny to me though, now that like I have a car and I know how to drive, because I didn't know how to drive the last time I watched this movie, is whenever she has to drive, even when when the ocean's not trying to spill out onto the land or there's any danger or the rain. Oh my gosh, especially when she drives in the rain. She's always driving at like full speed, like some kind of maniac. And I'm like, dude, you have these little kids in the car. You have to be more careful, especially the part when she's like driving in the rain and still doing going really fast. And I'm like, how the heck is this car not like, when you drive in the rain, it like messes up the wheels and stuff. You have less control of the car, and I'm like, how are you driving so well, but you're doing this so dangerous? My gosh, I gotta put her in like the Fast and Furious movies or something. I will say, two of my favorite scenes in the movie, it's the one where Ponyo's parents get to see each other again, but also the one, once Ponyo's human and she's with Sosuke's family for a while, and the power ends up going out and they go back to the house, and it's just that whole scene during the power outage where they're having their little, I don't really know what's in their drinks actually. It's supposed to be like a warm drink, and I'm assuming it's like honey or whatever that's getting poured in, and then they end up having dinner and Ponyo ends up falling asleep. There's always something about that scene every time I've watched this movie that just feels so cozy, and I feel like just with the way the movie is, you don't really get a lot of scenes like that, so it's kind of nice. Like, it gets to kind of slow a bit. Not that the movie's always going at a fast-paced speed. I do sort of like the pacing in this movie, actually. Where it's like, the first act of it is like really slow, of like Ponyo being a goldfish. You get to see what Sosuke's life is like. And then she ends up becoming human. And then it's that I feel like the part where it's her and Sosuke when they're trying to find Lisa kind of just goes on for like a bit too long, that's kind of when I get actually a bit less interested because they're just going over in this boat. But I do like that you get to see all of these ancient fish. I thought that was really cool. And then it feels like it kind of ends just really fast, actually, where they find the mom and she's with all those old people in the bubble. And Sosuke is being asked, like, yeah, are you going to love this fish for the rest of your life? And it just kind of, like, ends there. So I guess it is nice. You do get to see Ponyo as a human, like, before that. So by the end of the movie, you're not wondering, like, oh, you know, what would that be like for her? So I have, like, a bit of mixed thoughts on the pacing of the movie. But I do like that it, you know, you get a scene with Ponyo where it's, like, a little slower because she's always, like, running around and doing stuff. But that's something I like with a lot of the Ghibli movies. There's usually, I mean, it's been a while since I've watched, like, all of them. There's usually at least, like, one scene where the characters get to, I don't know, eat or chill for a little bit. Like, the one I always think of with Spirited Away is when her and Haku, they're in this, like, flower area and they're eating the, what is it, the rice balls. And the movie kind of just, like, slows down for a little bit. I kind of like scenes like that. It's nice. I think I've gone through most of my notes. I like that between Sosuke and Ponyo. Ponyo, you know, she's never been human, like, a day in her life. And she's, like, very, very energetic. And Sosuke is kind of the opposite, where he's kind of a bit more just chill overall, and he kind of, once it's the two of them, has to be the mature one. But I do like that there's times where he does kind of feel more like a little kid. Like, he gets upset when Ponyo ends up gone. And then there's the part when him and Ponyo find Lisa's car, and it still has all the stuff in it, but she's not there. And he kind of just stands in the road, and he's crying, and Ponyo, you know, she doesn't know what crying is, but she's, like, kind of trying to comfort him a little bit, and then they walk down the rest of the road. I feel like that scene, kind of felt like a bit more emotional this time around, because now that I'm older, I'm thinking, like, yeah, this little kid, you know, he's trying to find his mom, he doesn't know where his mom is, and, you know, especially for him being that age, that's probably really scary, just the idea of, like, you know, that can happen to, like, any little kid of, like, you know, you go back to the car, and it's like, you can't find your parents, and it's just kind of you, and you don't really know what to do, you kind of just freeze a bit. It made me think of me having those kind of fears when I was, like, really little. But yeah, I liked that scene. The senior citizen characters, I think there's, like, 3 main ones. I thought they were pretty cool, too. I did not realize that Betty White was in this movie until I actually started it, and I saw the opening credits. But then once it got to her character, I don't remember which of the old lady she was. I recognized her voice immediately, and that was only because between watches of this movie, I had at least watched some of the Golden Girls, so I was a bit, you know, more familiar with her voice and stuff. But I liked the old ladies. I thought they were kind of funny, and I thought it was nice that at the end, when they're inside of the giant bubble underwater, I don't remember if the movie, like, explains it or not, but they're suddenly really energized where they don't need to sit in their wheelchairs anymore, and they're, like, running around and chasing each other. I just assumed it was, like, some kind of magic effect that, I mean, it's not like they're, like, physically younger, they still look the same, but the fact that they had all this energy, you know, I don't know if it was, like, a willpower thing or some kind of magic effect that made them more energized. But I thought that was nice. You know, you get to see them kind of throughout the movie, or that they were cool characters. And then I forgot the stakes at the end of, like, Ponyo becoming human, because I remembered it was like, Sosuke having to promise to love. I like that it's specifically loving all of her forms, whether she's like a fish or a human and stuff. And it is supposed to be like very sweet, but I did think it was like kind of interesting because, this is a thing where she turned human. So I feel like knowing she's like a fish in like a previous part of her life and loving that side of her too kind of didn't really matter anymore because she's just gonna be, human permanently anyway. But I understand what's supposed to mean, and like he already kind of met her through all the forms at the beginning, or not the beginning, but like earlier parts of the movie. I actually do like that it starts with, Sosuke meeting Ponyo when she's like still a fish and everything, and doesn't know that she's like magic and that she can eventually turn into a human. So it's like he goes through all the forms until she's eventually a human, and then he doesn't really want her to change back. But I thought that was like kind of a nice way of wording it. But I do like that it still has like the Little Mermaid consequences of like if he doesn't love her, she'll turn into sea foam and like basically die. I wonder if like Ponyo even realizes that too. I mean, she does have like so much faith in Sosuke anyway. But I wonder if it also means like if he did stop caring about her for whatever reason, like once she's a human, would she just like turn into sea foam anyway or something? I know that's like kind of a bit dark, but I remember I was thinking about that the last time I watched the movie. But I do like that there's like a cost for her too, where in order to become human, she has to give up her magic, which she's fine with. But I feel like that wasn't really like much of a cost, because it felt like she was only using the magic like towards the later part of the movie when they were trying to find Lisa. Like even when she like during the scene when it was the power outage and stuff, and she's kind of figuring out how to be human, she wasn't really, it seems like she's only really using magic like when necessary, so it doesn't really feel like a big deal to give it up. But I like that there's at least something. It is kind of interesting that I mean, it's like based on like the Little Mermaid, but not following it exactly. But then like every other version of like a Little Mermaid sort of story that I've seen, there's usually some kind of, if it's not like literally a sea witch, some kind of deal or character the mermaid character has to like kind of work with to become human. And then for Ponyo, there's just nothing. I mean she did have to like taste the human blood, and she has like magic of her own, but she just kind of becomes human on her own, and it's not like she has to go back to the ocean or there's any help with that transformation. That could have been interesting though. But yeah, it's nice that she gets to be human at the end. I do like the last frame where she's like kind of floating above Sosuke in that way. That is interesting that like it's not only like, yeah, she's gonna become human and the kids are gonna be together, but like Lisa, because I remember Ponyo's mom even tells Lisa like, oh yeah, good luck, because she's basically adopting her kid and stuff, so now she just has a second kid to raise. But like Ponyo seems to fit well with that family and everything. I do like that, again, you get to see that in the power outage scene of like what their dynamic is like as a family, so gives you like a bit of a taste of that. But I guess it's that Sosuke and Ponyo are gonna be like raised as siblings. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this. I didn't mean to get too I don't know, like nitpicky or whatever. Like I wasn't sure if I was originally going to talk about this, because I thought like, yeah, I'm going to start this off saying I don't really like Ponyo as a character. But that's just kind of how I feel about it. I like the rest of the movie and everything. If anything, I like this movie more now that I've rewatched it, and I would, watch it again anyway. There's a lot in it that I really liked, and I'll definitely have to listen to the soundtrack again. But yeah, I did mostly want to talk about this just because throughout like the rest of the movie, I was, you know, after the scene where like you get to see Ponyo's mom, and just like listening to the music as I'm watching, I was like, yeah, I can't stop thinking about Mario Galaxy. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. All right, I'm done here. I don't know, like I said, if I'll talk about any other Ghibli movies, because like a couple of years ago, because I was watching this on HBO Max, by the way. I did buy off Amazon like a DVD set that had all the movies up till a certain point. It doesn't have The Boy and the Heron, which I didn't really care about that one when I originally watched it in theaters. And I knew even, as soon as I left the theater, like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm going to have to watch this again. Kind of like with some of the Wes Anderson movies. So that one I plan to watch when I get the chance to. I don't know when that'll be. I might even end up talking about that one, because then I could, like, really figure out how I feel about it. But yeah, like a couple years ago, I got the DVD set, and I watched with some of my friends, like, all the movies that were on there, which I definitely have some favorites in terms of Studio Ghibli movies, but there was a lot that was on that DVD set I actually didn't really care for, and it's hard for me because, like, one of the best movies I've ever seen is Grave of the Fireflies, and that's one of the only movies I feel like I need everyone to see it at least once, but I myself never want to see it again because it's a fantastic movie, but it was just that depressing. I have no desire to watch it a second time. So I probably wouldn't do, sometimes I watch like an entire series and I talk about it on here. You're gonna see me with that with the James Bond movies in like a year. But yeah, for those reasons, I probably will not be watching and talking about all the Ghibli movies. But there might be some, like The Boy and the Heron, I might decide to give another shot at. But yeah, I don't know if I'll probably not talk about some of my favorites. I don't know, because, like, Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle are, like, both really popular ones anyway, and I feel like I don't really have much to add with those, or even, like, watching Howl's Moving Castle today, which I think it's, like, my second or third time seeing it. I feel like there wasn't anything different or new that I felt with it. I loved it, so it wouldn't be very long of a video. Actually, I could see myself rewatching Spirited Away. I don't know, maybe I'd feel a little differently on it. Because I did watch, there's like a stage play version of it that was also on HBO. And that was really good. I think I originally did make a video on that on my other channel. But yeah, there's like so many Ghibli movies. So it's a maybe if I watch and talk about some of them. It's nice to have the DVD because I have HBO, but it only works on one TV in the house. And unfortunately, right now, it's the one that I don't usually have access to very often, which sucks because, like, I'm watching The Lighthouse, and I can't continue the movie until, like, a week later. But yeah, potentially more Ghibli in the future. I mean, I do have a lot of movie reviews on the way. You're getting, like, literally all the James Bond movies, or the Eon ones, next year. I don't remember what month. I have them, like, all pre-recorded. It takes up, I think, like a month and a half. And then for September this year, soon, you're getting, like, a month of just Disney and Pixar movies. So we'll have to see where the Ghibli ones will go. I don't know. That's my problem with pre-recording too far ahead. But yeah, it was nice to rewatch Ponyo. I definitely have like a better opinion of it now. My thoughts on Ponyo herself have not changed. Though I know I'm bashing this like child, but I don't know. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to talk about it. All right, bye.